Many beginners find it difficult to understand how the SQL join works, right? It is not hard at all. You only need to understand these two tips that I'm going to show you in this video, right? But before we go to the tips, let's get to the screen, right? Now, I'm going to be working with this database, SoftView Analytics. And as you can see, the database has three tables in them: the order table, the persons table, and the sept cohort table, right? I want to work with the orders and the persons table, right? So we are going to relate the two tables together and query both of them together as though they are one. That's what SQL join is about, right? It's about bringing two or more tables together and releasing a query, right, that is going to draw out data from the two of them at once, right? That is SQL join. Now, the first of the tips that you need to understand is that now in your mind, right, when you want to query, you want to use the SQL join. Now, we want to use two tables as an example. In your mind, name one to be the left table and name the other one to be the right table. For example, I want to use the orders table and the persons table, right? I'm going to make the persons table to be my left table, to be on the left side, and I'm going to make the order table to be at the right side. So persons table is my left table and orders table is my right table. That's the first tip, and you're going to see it by the time we begin to write the statement. Now, the second tip is this. The second tip is that in the two table, right, go and check the columns of each of the two tables, right, and find the identical columns in both of them, right? There must be a column that is on the left table and that is also on the right table, because this is what we are going to use to establish the relationship between them, right? So let's check the left table, which is my persons table, with this statement, with this query: select all from persons table. I'm going to execute that, right? So this is the table. Now you can see that it has 5 columns, and then one of it is called PID. That is to mean person's ID. Now, in every table, an ID is very important. It is very important to include an ID, an ID column. For example, if you are working with an employee table, you should always have an employee ID. If you are working with a sales table, you should always have a sales ID, because that particular column is going to represent a unique, right, a unique key, right? And of course, we understand what unique key is, but then for those that don't understand, unique key is that particular column that releases an information about the data set, about the table, that is unique to each observation on that table. For example, your phone number, right, is a unique key to you, because no two person can use that phone number. No two person can use that phone number in the world. It is your own phone number, right? So it is your unique key. And the same way, in an organization, in an employee data, your employee ID, you are the only one that would have it in the whole of the organization. So it is your unique key. Now, as the case is on this table we have on the screen, right, PID is the unique key, right, because it is number 1. No other person here has number 1, right? The next person is number 2, 3, and 4. So the information on this PID is unique to this table, to each observations, to each observation on that table. So you must always look for that kind of unique key. And as the case is now, the intention is to see whether that unique key is also a primary key, right? If it is a unique key and at the same time the constraint is not null, it is a unique key and a not null together, right? That is a primary key. And we can see now the PID here is a primary key. Now I'm going to look at the second, my right table, which is the order table, and execute it. Now you also see that that same PID is on the second table. Fine. So it means that I have 2 identical columns on the 2 table. which I'm now going to use to relate the two tables together. Note also that I have the OID, that is domain order ID. This is the actual unique key here, right? Is the actual unique key or the primary key here. So the PID that is a primary key on the left table or on the other table is showing up here as a foreign key. And a foreign key is that particular column or the key that has the right to relate with the primary key. So we are going to use both of them, we are going to make both of them relate with each other, and it's going to help us by the time we are writing, our query. Now let's get into the query. Now I want to select all the columns that I have, all the columns in the two tables. I want to call them out as one, right? The query goes thus. I'm going to say select all from, right? Now note, from is supposed to mean that what is the table that I want to call it from, but you understand that we now have two tables, right? We have two tables together now. I'm going to acknowledge the two tables. So I'm going to say from persons from person join order, because those are my two tables. But then before we move further, we need to understand that there are 4 types of join. We have the inner join, we have the left join, we have the right join, and the full join, right? So on this at this point, you will specify the kind of join that you want to establish on these two tables, right? So if it is an inner join, we are going to say select all from person inner join order. If it is a left join, you're going to say select all from person left join order, right? So I'm going to write an inner join. So I'm going to say select all from person inner join orders, right? And that's not all. That's not all. Now you will now establish the relationship between them that we have found out to be the PID. So I'll say on, this is the clause that brings out the relationship. On, now when writing it, both of them, both the person's table and the others table has the PID. So you're going to say the PID of the person's table, right? First, the PID of the person's table, and you write it this way: on persons dot PID, right, equals to others. They want to pick the others, the PID of the other table. So we're going to say others dot PID, right? And then of course I have just formed the relationship. This is the actual relationship between them, right? But because the PID is in both of them, I'm going to acknowledge the first one, together with the table, and the second one together with the table. So that's why I say PID of the person's table equals to PID of the others table, right? Now if I execute this, I'm going to say that it's going to call all of them together for me as one. Now you can see that this is all the tables together, and this is what we note. This is what make it a inner join. Now the key understanding about inner join is that, like I once explained, it works like an intercept in the case of set theory, right? If you recall the elementary mathematics set theory, when we say A intercept B, so it means that there is a point where the two sets merge together, right? And the common factor in both of them, the intercept in both of them, right, is what we are going to call out, right? That is how A intercept B. That's what it means in the case of set theory. Now bring that understanding into this. Inner joins is the same thing as intercept. Now let's see how the person's table looks like once again, right? This is the person's table. You see that it has PID, right? And the person's ID as 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But if you look at the person ID on the others table, you will see that some 2 is not there and 4 is not there. It has only 1 and 3. Can you see? So let's go there together and see, right? Now it has 3, it has 1, 2 is not there, 4 is not there as well, but this has 15 that is not also available on the PID of the person's table, right? That is fine. So inner join means that it is only going to identify the attributes, the selections that are in both of them. So 15 is here and not on the person's ID, right? It's not on the person's table, so it's not going to select this particular row. All this row will not be selected, right? 1 is here and 1 is on the person's table, so all of this will be selected. 1 is here and 1 is also on the PID of the person's table, all of this will be selected. 3 is here and 3 is here also, and all these 3 are also available on the PID of the person's table, so it will be selected. So at the end of the day, we'll realize that we'll see that I'm going to go back to the person's table for you to see now. So at the end of the day, you see that we would have, because this is 1, Ansin, Ola, this information, all this information, and it's going to merge this to the one that it is seen, that is available on the to the one that is available on the PID of the others table, right? And of course, it's not going to repeat this because 2 is not on the other one, but we have 3. But then you notice that we have 1 occurring twice on the other table, so it's going to repeat this one twice to merge it with each of the one that we have on the other table, and it's going to repeat this 3 twice also because we have 3 occurring twice on the others table, so it's going to return this twice to merge it with the 2 3s that we have on the other table. And at the end of the day, we're going to have something like this. I'm going to execute this. Fine. So you can see that we have 1, we have Ansin, Ola, Timothy, and Sadness. Now relating it to the one that we have on the PID of the other table, and if repeat it also relating it to the second one that we have on the PID of the other table, and the same thing with this Peterson Carl and Peterson Carl. So what you have discovered here is that the 2 tables are only positioning their common factor, and that is why it is an inner join. You remember I said that inner join works as like an intercept. But then if we have used the same statement but change this to a left join, is going to, remember we have named person's table to be our left table, so it's going to bring compulsorily every information that you have on the person's table will be listed out, right? And looks for the matching value on the right table, which is the other table. And I'm going to do that in another video, right? If you intend to use a right join, it means that because we have defined our others table to be the right table, it's going to bring out all the information on the others table and look for the matching value on the person's table, and that is what we're going to have at the end of the day. So with this understanding now, we can do more things, right? Let's say we are not interested in calling out all, we are not selecting all, we just want to select few columns. So I will say select. Now if I want to select this first name, for example, I am going to acknowledge the table I'm picking it from. So I'm going to say select persons dot first name, right? First name, comma, others dot order number, right? Order number from, so I can now copy all of these from all of these, right? And you can see that it will work, right? And I can execute it. It's going to give me the same thing as I want. You can see that that is how the SQL inner join statement works, right? So I'm going to do more of this in our next video. Have a nice day.